Oh shit, we live.
We live. All right, what up, everybody? You're listening, not listening, you're watching another episode of Champagne Sharks. I'm Be the Star here with Kenny
What up? What up?
and our special guest, Alexis Williams.
Hey.
We met on Twitter. That's how we meet people nowadays.
Yeah.
Actually, how I met Kenny, too.
There you go.
Check it out. Twitter
Um,
uniting everybody.
all right. So the thing that we wanted to talk about was how do we motivate Black children to learn? And the reason why this is such an important topic to me is because I've worked in schools for about 20 over 20 years now. I know I look young. I've been working in schools, both teaching, running programs, working specifically with children who've had behavior problems in the classroom and out the classroom. Kenny also has similar background. And in having done that type of work and having to have a learning curve, because I wasn't good at it the whole time. I learned some tough lessons doing it too.
Yeah.
Right? You have a couple of kids try to swing on you. You learn some shit real quick.
Look, okay, and this and you know the thing is, I'm not a teacher, you know what I mean, but I've always worked in administration in public schools. But I started out in what they would call alternative schools. So I was working in the schools where kids was gang banging, selling dope, all kind of crazy stuff. I almost got into a fight with a kid before. So there's really nothing in the school that I've never seen. And I think what we're going to talk about tonight is going to fit into what, not from both perspectives, from the teacher's perspective, administration, and for parents, for people that have kids that don't really understand. Honestly, they don't know what the hell is going on in the school with their kids. They don't know. They have no idea. Regardless of what the kids tell them, they really don't know what's going on.
No clue. And it's funny because I think my parents were kind of like that, especially my dad. He didn't know. Only thing he knew was if they was messing with me to come up there and turn some tables over. That's pretty much
exactly right.
What I did every day. He couldn't even tell you what my grades were. He didn't even care. It was like somebody messing with you. Okay, let's go up there and handle that. That's pretty much my dad's whole thing. But now, granted, that also almost failed out of high school, so don't take that approach.
Right.
But it's definitely important that parents do know what's going on in their kids' school. How are your kids being treated, especially Black children? So I think sometimes we think well, this is a Black school with Black staff, everything's going to be okay. Definitely can tell you that's not the case, because remember, it's still the same institution.
Yeah.
They're still getting that white supremacist training to utilize tactics to make sure your children only know how to follow authority. They don't learn how to make executive decisions. They don't learn how to critically think.
Right. And some parents think that the teachers are always right.
Oh, we have a lot of parents think the teacher's always right.
Yeah.
Because they have the belief that they're the adult and the adult is the one in power and the adult is always right. And your child is supposed to just fall in line. And that's a very dangerous thing, in my opinion, for parents to do, especially because Black children are so much more vulnerable than every other child. And at the same time, they're the ones that are given the least space and room to talk and express themselves.
Right.
They're told that they're talking back, that they have bad behavior, they're disruptive. That was the word teachers used for me. I was disruptive just because I asked a question or I dared to question the adult in the room, because you can never do that, right? And also, I was not very motivated in school. I failed math almost every semester of high school. Only one semester I did not fail. Thankfully, or unfortunately, depending on how you look at it, my school was so shitty. All you had to do was show up to summer school and they gave you an A. And just show up to summer school. Don't be a gang member. Sometimes they just let us leave. You show up, turn in something, you can just leave the rest of the day. You're supposed to be in it for 4 hours. You wouldn't be there most of the day.
I've seen that before. I've been in that situation my damn self. As a student,
Exactly. So I don't think that the bullying and the berating of children motivates them to learn. And no, it didn't help me. I don't know if it helped you, Kenny.
No.
I want to give a shout out to the people in the chat. I see you, Isaac. What's up? Outlaw 2008 B. Scott Harlow, Island Bowie. Shout out to you guys. Thank you so much. Please, 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 guys, don't forget to like and share and subscribe on YouTube and Twitch and everywhere else you watch us. Also, make sure that you hit us up and on Patreon. We're on Patreon Go to patreon.com/champagne shark. Subscribe. You'll get podcasts and some other goodies, depending on which tier and how much you donate. So make sure that you support so we can continue to do this great work and share this great information. Like Kenny and I were talking about before, the importance of using our platforms to share actual information versus just trying to berate people. That's not what we do.
No, we don't do that. I can do that. I can do that off of the internet. I don't need to do that.
He does that shit on Twitter enough. That's not what
I don't need to do that here. It's a waste of time. I got a question for Alexis though, but for Alexis, so you're a teacher, and how long have you been teaching?
So I am fresh out of college. I've been subbing though for 3 years now. And so the school that I currently sub at, I've been there for about 2.5 of those 3 years. So I've seen a lot so far. They're actually interested in hiring me, but I'm still on the fence because, there are some things that I'm seeing and it's like, I don't know if I'm going to have enough of a support system in order for me to kind of flourish in that environment. Because it's funny that you mentioned, Vita, that in high school, they were just, you show up and they push you on. I can see that already at the middle school that I'm at. So that's a warning right there for me already.
And the school that you have been subbing in, are they also what are the demographics of the schools that you've subbed in?
Demographics are definitely mostly Black and Hispanic students, and a small percentage of white students. So that's pretty much the demographics for where I am.
What about income levels?
Income is definitely low, very low.
Predominantly Black and some Latino, predominantly low income school.
Yes.
So you're talking about an environment you already know is rife with trauma.
Right.
Because poverty is a trauma. I don't care what nobody tries to tell you. It's a trauma. And usually, and being Black in America is definitely rife with intergenerational trauma. So you're talking about a lot happening, and probably a school structure and system that's not conducive to educating them in a healthy way.
I think I'm lucky to be a Black teacher or a Black sub at this point, but I will be a Black teacher in this community because I get to connect a little easier than the other teachers and the staff that's there at the moment. It's a little less work for me and it's a little more natural. Like I don't have to force it, and the kids can tell that I'm not forcing it, and so they gravitate towards me, and I love that so much. So I'm lucky to be a Black teacher because it's really convenient. It's just easier for me to connect with my students, and I love that so much.
And the connection part is in my opinion, the most important part of education, because this is part of the what I teach. I told you I teach trauma-informed compassionate classrooms, and part of what I teach is that connection piece. And the reason why you want to connect is because children, or anyone really, but specifically children, feel safer when they feel like you understand them. They feel emotionally calmer. And that's the best way for them to learn. They don't retain information when they're scared. Hence why they do the same thing again later, right? They don't, and it's harder, and on top of that, they can't plan and think ahead if they're scared. And it's already difficult anyway because their brains have not fully developed to that level. In fact, that part of your brain doesn't even really begin to kick in until about 15 years old, when you begin to think long term and think that far ahead. So a lot of times, our expectations are too high for students or for young people because it doesn't match their development. Also, we don't know how to connect. So because we're lacking connection, kids are in defense mode all day because they're used to the adults picking on them.
And it's also a good thing to remember is that, if are you at a middle school, Alexis?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, perfect. So at that age, 12, 13, 14, these kids are still being influenced. This is like the first stage of influence for students. This is where you're going to see the girls changing, the boys changing. The boys are going to starting to gain an identity immediately because they're going to be treated differently in society anyway. Once you become a 13-year-old boy, you're a 13-year-old man in society. You know what I mean? So you're not even going to get the chance or the autonomy to be a boy. A young adolescent. You're immediately being thrust into. So you have these pressures coming from outside of school, whether it be at home or just in your neighborhood, society. But then you also have this going on at school where you're actually, as a boy, young boy, now you're competing with other boys. So for whatever that is, whatever kids compete over, whatever, you know what I mean? Most of the time it's just attention. You know, we figured that out 20 years later. It's just for attention. That's all it is. But it means everything to them.
Exactly.
You know, your influences mean So
acceptance is the number one thing. Is the number one need, biological, neurological need of adolescence. So when they hit adolescence, with the time period you're talking about, middle school, acceptance is the number one thing on your list.
Yeah. And I want to touch on what 2008 B. Scott just said. He said, I remember when my cousin who was a teacher was invited to teach in Atlanta public schools for a signing bonus and said no and stuck with his black suburban school because of what Alexa just said. And I want to touch on that because I'm in Portland, Oregon, where we don't really have too many majority black schools anymore. We used to. But you see that a lot. You used to see that a lot here, but there's a double-edged sword to that. Now in Atlanta, I'm sure everybody black, so it doesn't matter if you go suburb or you go to public school, everybody black. Mm-hmm. But if you're a black teacher or a black educator and you're in a city where you might end up in them predominantly white schools, it might be easier for you as far as your stress level. But now you got to deal with admin stuff. So you're not allowed to really interact with students the way you want to as if you were in a predominantly black school. You know what I mean? Now you're being stuck in these conversations about, and not only that, like I told Vita earlier today, you end up being the Negro whisperer for however many black kids that are there. If there's an issue with those black kids, you pretty much have become their parent. You're like, wait a minute, hold on. How come I can't just be like everybody else working with kids here? No, well, these kids, they need this, and this. And you're like, no, I understand that, but that's not my role. Right. You know what I mean? Just because I'm black does not mean that I'm going to be the one to save them. That's not my job. You know what I mean? I can understand them. I can meet them where they are. I can provide them with resources, but I'm not, you know what I mean? So it's a double-edged sword as a black educator.
And it's an unfair position to put you in because the reality is they would need a structure to support you to even do that.
Yeah, exactly. And it doesn't exist. Right. They want you to build all of that plus do the job at the same time.
Exactly.
You know, in 2021, they're talking you go to a lot of spaces where they're all talking about equity in schools and things like that. The first person they're going to talk to, they're going to look right at you. They're going to look right at the black person.
Yep. And there's a lot of difference in the spaces that you work in. So like when I worked in Redondo Beach, it was just really the biggest wake-up call I ever had around how we treat our children in school. Like I always knew it was fucked up because I would see shit and witness, experience shit, fought for kids, especially when I worked in Watts. But I didn't really see what it would look like if you had an environment that was completely different until I worked in Redondo Beach. And that was when I really learned, and it's a sociological study on it, about how children, basically the income level of your parents and the type of work that they do. So if they're like working class, they raise their kids a certain way. And that sort of thinking basically contributes to the kind of work that they go into in the future. So our kids learn how to follow authority and obey rules, right? They learn how to be labor.
Right.
When I worked in Redondo Beach, they teach their kids how to be executives. And what do I mean by that? Black schools, get in line, be quiet. What are you doing? Stop that. You're nodding because you've seen it. I know you have, right?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
I've witnessed that so much. I worked in Inglewood. I worked in Watts. I worked in different parts of South Central. Saw it all the time. Growing up in South Central, that was literally my experience in school. Get in line. Be quiet. What? Just be yelling at the kids all day. When I worked in Redondo Beach, do you think they let me scream at a child at all? If you see two kids fighting on the yard at a black school, they say they're fighting over a ball or something. Most adults go over there, both the kids in trouble, or they take the item and say, if nobody don't know how to play with it, we'll take it away. They take it away, right? And they walk off. Let me ask you a question. What did those two kids learn in that situation?
Nothing.
Not a goddamn thing.
Nothing at all. Nothing at all.
When I worked in Redondo Beach, you know what they taught us to do? You get to eye level with the children and you teach them how to negotiate. How do they get everyone's needs met at the table? How do we learn how to take turns? How do we figure this out together? You literally have to sit. It's work. You teach them. I had to get down to eye level. and explain, how hey, Johnny's feelings are really hurt when you did that. Most kids don't want to hurt their friends' feelings. It didn't even cross their mind until you point it out.
Right.
And then when you teach them how to get along, how to empathize, their kids learn how to be executives. They learn how to negotiate. Our kids don't learn that shit.
I think it's partly because they don't see the humanity in our kids. Like, listening to these strategies, if the other teachers even thought of implementing these strategies into the classroom, they would have a completely different response from the students. And it's partly because they do one thing, and it's security, this student, I need them out of my classroom. That's
absolutely.
It's that simple. It's that simple.
Mm-hmm.
It's that simple.
Absolutely.
Now Deerfield, how far is Deerfield Beach from Miami-Dade County?
That would be, depending on how far you go into Miami, maybe like a 45 to an hour drive.
Okay. So Deerfield Beach isn't a suburb. It's not a suburb.
It depends, because if you head more north, it goes into Boca territory, and that is more of suburbs. But if you head a little south, that is more of the hood type of environment. So it depends on what road. If you go on the south side of Power Line, you'll be in more of the hood. If you go on the northern side of Power Line, you're in suburbs.
Okay. Oh, it's Broward County. Okay. Isaac K just told me it's Broward County. I'm familiar. Okay. Yeah. Okay. And I know Broward County is black, is a black community. You know what I mean? Broward County, Dade County is a black community. Palm Beach County are black communities. But I think the difference is like what Vita is saying, like Redondo Beach. How far is Redondo Beach from South Central?
25 minutes?
Yeah, I was about to say 20 minutes. 20 minutes. 20 minutes.
Oh, and in LA time, that's not far at all.
Well, no, LA time, an hour and a half. Yeah. So it's a 20-minute.
It's like 15 minutes, maybe.
But it seems like, and of course there's more black people in the South, and especially in Florida. But out here, all the black people are centralized in one area. If you go to Redondo Beach, how many black kids was in that school? 10?
None.
Oh, see, there you go. So the entire structure.
There were 2 girls that were mixed. There were 2 mixed girls there.
Right. So the entire structure is going to be different. The entire base platform of how they do everything.
Everything is different.
Is different.
And it's intentional. So and I like that you brought that up, because it's very intentional. When there's a reason why they teach their kids what they teach them, and our kids don't learn that in that way, right? There's a reason why our teachers that go to our schools are trained in a particular way, because they're sent to our schools, right? They say, oh, these are the teachers from Teach for America or from whatever other institution or program. And they're specially trained to go work in these ghettos with these children. Literally, this is what they do. That's like the whole movement of Teach for America, right?
Right.
Then they send them into our schools, and they don't really know what the fuck they doing. What they've learned is how to do reward and punishment. Put stars on the wall. I hate the fucking stars on the wall. I did that one time. Let me tell you, I hurt a student so bad it hurt my heart, because he couldn't participate in the ice cream party because he didn't have enough stars, and he was the only one. And I had to be fair at that moment. And after that happened, I swore I'd never do that shit again. That shit was horrible, because he didn't learn anything. All he felt was excluded.
Yeah, a reward system with kids that young does not work.
It makes no sense. It was elementary school, and it made no sense. And it wasn't like so I had to learn a lot of different tactics that were outside of this white supremacist idea of reward and punishment. I call it white supremacist because that's literally the whole basis of this country. Look at how we talk about crime. We don't talk about crime as in, well, what caused this situation to happen? What is the correlation between poverty and robberies, right? And let's address the fact that we have so much poverty so we can stop these robberies. That's not what we talk about. We talk about how do we change the circumstances that people are living in to get them off drugs. That's not what we talk about. We talk about how do we criminalize them, right? We don't talk about how do we support mothers who are single and have nobody and have no child care so they can go to work and not have to leave their child at home and then get their kids taken from them so they can be put in a foster care in a foster family that's getting a check for those children. When this mother couldn't get it, right? She's in jail. That's when I talk about crime and punishment. We don't have the room for the situations that actually exist. So our kids are put into that system. That's all we know. Our teachers that come to our schools, they get trained in that system. How do I control the behavior of these wild animals? That's pretty much how they talk to. I know I've been through all those trainings. They talk to you and they tell you, look at how terrible these kids. They've all been through so much trauma, and all their parents are crazy. The parents are. Look at how they talk to the parents. I always say this: if you're going to work in a school, look at how the school talks to the parent.
The first thing I do, I'm an educator, but I'm not a teacher. I've been a counselor. I've done a whole bunch of stuff in schools. The first thing I do when I go into a classroom, because there's always going to be a group of kids, because of the way that I do my thing. There's always certain kids that they gravitate towards me, and it's across racial boundaries, racial guidelines and boundaries, and economics. You know what I mean? Like I got kids that come and vibe with me that's about to go to West Point to the military, white kids. You know. But what the first thing I do is I'll go into a classroom and I look at the kids. I don't give a damn who the teacher is. I'm looking at the kids because I want to see how are the kids engaging, and that right there will tell you if the teacher is good or not.
Right.
You know what I mean? That'll tell you everything you need to know, because we all remember in high school, specifically in high school, we all had favorite teachers.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And that favorite teacher
that were easy either.
No. and those favorite teachers were usually favorited by more than just you.
Right.
Yep.
Everybody liked this teacher, and the teacher wasn't necessarily easy at all. You know what I mean? So what was it that teacher was doing? Well, now that I think about it, I'm 39 years old now. So when I think back when I was in high school, he engaged with me respectfully. You know, I have a teacher. There's a teacher right now. He works at the high school I went to. And last year I was a restorative justice coordinator. I was working with kids with a myriad of issues going on in schools. And I go into the school. I didn't know he worked there anymore. So when I go into the school, I hear somebody say my name. And I turn around and it was him. I was like, what the hell are you doing here? He said, what the hell are you doing here? And we gave each other a dap, gave each other a hug. And that dude is the one that helped me understand what was I doing wrong at the time, but not saying, man, can you just fuck up? You lazy. I'm going to call your dad.
Yep.
That wasn't going to do nothing.
That. Right.
No.
That never worked.
No.
That never worked.
No. And I've had teachers that did that and it never worked.
Of course it doesn't work.
What he did was he said, let me show you something. Took me to the office. I didn't even know my GPA. I was a sophomore. I didn't know my GPA. I didn't know nothing. He was like, you see, this is your GPA, right? He said, well, I know you're good at sports, but do you think you're going to be able to go to college with this GPA? Again, something I don't know the answer to. So he told me and at that time, it was a long time ago, going to college, you didn't need a 3.0 GPA. You need like a 2.5 or something like that. I wasn't nowhere close to that. And he was like, you ain't even close to it. He said, this is what you should do. And this is a teacher. This is something that my counselor, my principal, they should have told me. He said, I want you to go talk to this guy. His name was Joe McFerrin. He was at an alternative school. I want you to go talk to him. Tell him you need to get your credits up. Get your credits up and then come back here. Now, this is a teacher. He didn't have to do this. He could have went and said, oh, yeah, whatever. That's Kenny. He be fucking up. Yeah, I know him. You know what I'm saying? But he gave me
back to the prison system. That was
and gave me a soft handoff to another individual who didn't know me. But by the time I got to his office, he knew exactly who I was and why I was coming there. You know what I mean? And this is in white ass Portland. Now, this is old Portland. This is old when black people was here. So it's a little bit different. But that's the type of educator that the kids will never. I'll be 40 in June. I ain't never going to forget that dude.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? I don't even know where he is. Well, I know he works at the school I was at, but I don't know what he's doing. You know what I mean? But I ain't never going to forget that. You know what I mean? And that's something I passed down. So I got a daughter. My daughter's 17. I tell my daughter all the time, man, most teachers don't know shit. I said, most teachers, they have a teacher because they have a job. So she didn't understand what that meant. I said, well, most teachers go to college. They were in the school of education just like me. They got a whole bunch of student debt and they got to pay it off. The easiest way to pay it off is you go teach at a Title IX school where all the quote unquote bad kids are because you get all the incentives. Right. So when you in Deerfield Beach, in South Central, in Watts, and all these different places, oh yeah, they don't care how they treat these kids because I got to get this debt paid off. If I stay here for 10 years, they're going to wipe my debt clean. I got $100,000 worth of debt. And the structure is set up to where I don't have to give a damn about these kids. I don't have to. You know what I mean? All I got to do is make sure that I pass them through and that we meet the state guidelines, testing and all that other bullshit that don't matter. You know what I'm saying? Because we got to keep getting funding, because if the government ain't going to fund these bad test scores.
Nope.
And then we got to pick out which kids are our shining stars where we can promote them. They probably going to go to USC and UCLA. And then we got the athletes, you know what I'm saying? So we got a group of kids that we could put on the front page of the LA Times and say, no, this school is doing well. But that doesn't mean that the system or the school itself is doing well. It's a piece of garbage. You know what I mean? So
when they do those stories, it's bullshit anyway. Because they always show you the students that are doing fantastic. They never show you the students that are struggling. And most of the time, the kids that get overlooked are the kids in the middle. They're not going to college. They're going all they will do is graduate, right?
Yeah.
They don't have a plan. They're not starting a business. There's nothing. I can't tell you how many of my friends had that experience. You know, they got 3.0s. They did just enough. Nobody pushed them to go to college. They barely might have got a 3.0.
And those are the kids. Those are the kids that they call. We have a program in the school I go that I work in, and it's called Avid. And those kids right there are the kids that they don't even realize the potential that they have, but they're barely making it. They're right here at this baseline where if they had the right mentorship and the right opportunities and resources put in place, they're going to fly.
Yep.
But there's so many schools that don't have these programs. All they have is the regular kids and AP.
And that's the other thing. The only reason I have a degree today is because I was in one of those special programs in school. Yeah. Right. And my school had over 3,000 students, 3,300 students.
God damn, that's a lot of kids.
It was only built for 1,100. Right.
Sheesh.
So
you got about 42 kids in each class.
Just about 40 kids at least. And sometimes not even an exaggeration. Some of our classrooms, kids didn't even have a desk. They'd have to borrow desks from a class where a teacher didn't have a class that period. So you'd have to borrow desks. That's literally my experience in school, right?
Oh wow.
The thing about and also let me just add this too. A lot of teachers, because of things like that, they don't have the resources to support their students. They're barely trying to get through their day as well. So I don't want to demonize teachers at all. But there's so much that I think happens when we ignore the fact that our students don't have enough resources in their schools because there's too many students in our schools or whatever the situation. There's not enough funding for our schools. In California, what they were doing, I don't know if they still do this, but they would do this thing where they would check API scores of schools. The schools that were doing the best got the most money. How insane is that, right? So the schools that were struggling get less money. So they're based off these API scores. I went to a school, the program that I was in, we had I was in a USC program that had about 200 students out of 3,300. And then you had separate tracks. So all the kids didn't go to school at the same time. Every program wasn't on every track. So I was on C track. Unless you were on C track, meaning you went to school at a certain time of the year, you couldn't be in my program. My group is only 1/3 of the school. So even less than that got into the program.
Wow.
Then if you want to be in magnet program, that was only on A track. And the way your tracks are decided are based off of your zip code. On top of that, your parent could come to the school and negotiate, maybe getting you on a different track because there's a special program that they want to get you in. But even then, there's no guarantee you'll get the program because they're at capacity. Right. So the few college programs or business programs, my brother was in a business magnet program, right? They only had like 30 students in that program. And this was a great program. He got to go to intern at a big corporation. He learned the ins out. Now he's an entrepreneur literally today. He loves business. So he studies all day, right? He never went to college, but he built a business. Our kids don't have the resources in their school. Why do we have 3,000 students in a school and not enough resources to serve them?
Because the government says if you don't send kids to school, you go to jail or you lose funding.
And that's why I say the school system is the most dangerous place for a Black child. I think it's the most dangerous institution. I think it's worse than the prison system because you're required to go to the school system and they funnel you into the prison system.
Yeah, you're not required to go to jail.
Right. The school will do that for you. Don't worry about it. I do want to highlight something that this video that was popular on Twitter today. I've heard it was viral also on Instagram, but I don't know. I don't be on there like that. But this teacher is trying to motivate her students, and this is what inspired this stream today and this conversation. I wanted to talk about it because it's a very good example of what happens in our schools and what our educators do, our Black educators do, and they don't even realize what they're doing and the way that they're coming across, and they don't realize they're not doing what they think they're doing. So let me share this video. Can you guys see that okay?
Start it over.
Okay. I don't know how to get this. Can you guys
yeah, there you go.
There we go.
I do not care about a reading level. I do not care about a grade level. None of that matters to me. Levels mean nothing to me. I don't care if you stay on a third, fourth, whatever level. That doesn't matter. It's your drive, though. Y'all gotta have the drive to actually read. You know what the issue is? I don't know. Maybe you can tell me. Are you lazy or you just think you can? Can somebody please tell me? Because what I'm seeing is this. You've been babied for all or pushed along, but now you get to me and I'm pushing you and you're pushing back. Y'all gotta stop being lazy. And can't is not cute. Like at all. Not a reason.
So that's the clip. Now, most of the response that I saw to the clip was, well, I don't see what's wrong. What's the problem here?
Wait, hold on, Vita. Was everybody able to hear that and see it?
Oh, they weren't able to hear that?
What, Alexa, could you hear that video?
Yes, I heard it clearly.
Okay. It was kind of, it had a little reverb to it, but I could hear it. Yeah.
Okay, hopefully you guys could hear it. If not, let me know. I don't know. I can show you the link somehow. Get you guys the link. But the reason why I wanted to talk about that clip is because for some people, it was too subtle of what the problem was. They felt like, well, she's just motivating her students. I don't see the problem here. And when you saw the video, Kenny, what was your first thought?
Well, the first thing I looked at was the kids. The kids were so tuned out, and I don't know what state that was. I would like to know what city and state that was. But first thing I looked at was the kids. The kids were in space. They were gone. And the things that she was saying, I don't think she understood that she was reinforcing the system. She was reinforcing an idea that because they're not able to reform, or I guess form to her teaching style, that they must have been lazy, that they was babies, that they can't learn anything. But then she said, well, I don't care if you can read at a certain level. So now you're reinforcing what the state's been telling you about the reading levels and all those kind of things.
I wouldn't even brought that up, to be honest.
That's none of their business.
Yeah.
That's none of their business. Everything that she said in that video is a conversation she should be having with the school board and a conversation she should be having with their parents. Because the parents, and this is what I said on Twitter, I said, in that classroom, and it looked like it was a packed ass classroom because you got kids sitting up by the chalkboard and everything. You don't know how many kids in there are on IEP, 504, how many kids are in SPED. So you don't know, and I don't know, maybe they didn't tell her and give her an idea of, okay, well, this student, they're on IEP. This student, they're going to need a para or something like that. I don't even know if she knew it. And even if she did know, she threw that all out the window and just grouped them all in one box. What you got to understand about kids, and they all look like they were in middle school, maybe 8th grade, 7th, 8th grade. What you got to understand about kids is that they're coming from so many different places. And it's a good idea to find a way to have a personal conversation with each of these students at some point in time so that you know where they are. You cannot have a classroom of 30 kids and think that they're all going to learn the same. That makes absolutely no sense. And if that's the case, and I'm not going to use her youth against her. She does look young, but I don't know how young she is. You know what I mean? I know she's in a damn classroom, so she's older than 21. So and then she's been to college. So I know she's older than 21. So the training, she does not have the training. Right. Whether it's informed care, assertive engagement, conflict resolution, she does not have the training to have this conversation with these kids to begin with. So the first, like I said, she should be having this conversation with the school board and with these kids' parents to understand if you're, and this is what a lot of people don't understand, or I should say a lot of teachers. A lot of teachers don't understand what really being a teacher means. If you really are going to be a teacher, it can't be about no money. It ain't about no money. Nope. It ain't about none of that, because you are pretty much cultivating the next society, the next generation, and they're going to go into the world after you get done with them. They're going to be voters. They're going to be employees. They're going to be employers. Nigga, they might end up being criminals. I don't know. But they're going to get the tutelage coming from you. You know what I'm saying? After your mama and your daddy, you know who the next person is? Like your parents, a teacher.
Yep.
You in a teacher's classroom for 8 hours a day. You're around a teacher more than you are your parents.
Yep.
Because when you get out of school, your mama got dinner on the table, or if she at work. Yeah, I mean, in our community, when I was coming up, my dad worked swing shift, my mom worked swing shift. I was at home all day until 11 o'clock, which is not a good thing. Okay. Right. So you don't know every kid's situation. So seeing that you don't know every kid's situation, can you have a little empathy? Is it really going to hurt you to have a little empathy?
And I think there was so much you said there, Kenny, because a lot of those reactions were the same that I had. Well, my first reaction was, who the fuck you think you're talking to?
Yeah, first of all.
That's my first reaction. Because I remember being that student, and that was always, like, let me put it like this. If that had been any of the schools that I went to, she would have got her ass cussed out at that moment. Like, there would have been a video of a kid fighting the teacher. I'm not even exaggerating. I've literally sat in class.
Oh, yeah.
Teachers were trying to shame a student, and that student swung the fuck out of them, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. In the jaw. Saw the shit multiple times, right? That was my first reaction. But then when I calmed down and I really watched it again, I listened to her, it was very clear to me she cared about her students.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I'm not going to say she didn't care.
Yeah, but I know we know that, but I want to make sure that, people who are listening know that we heard that too, right? She clearly cared about her students, and she was very passionate, which is why she's having the conversation at all. But there was something you highlighted too, Kenny. She needs to have that conversation with admin, because she's talking about levels and reading levels, and they shouldn't even be worried about that. If that's what you're saying, because she's saying, I don't want you worried about it, but she's telling them to worry about it. Like, why are you putting it in my head? You're saying, I just want you to read, but then you're shaming me because I'm not at the level that you want me to be, right?
And this started before I got here.
Right.
My condition started before I got here.
And that's exactly what I was going to say too. So she was put in a situation with students who should have been already at a certain level. On top of the fact that she's not getting that support, because if she was, that's because she's saying in the video, I don't even care what they're pressuring me about. But guess what? She cares because she's sitting up here pressuring them.
Yeah, she's pressuring the fuck out of them. Yeah.
Right. But I have empathy for that, because that's actually very common. So when I train a lot of teachers, that's very common, where they're passionate but they're frustrated, and they're saying that they don't care about what the system says, but they care about what the system says. That's every day. That's their check. That's what determines how they can even move forward in their classroom. So they care. But when you try to put the pressure on your students versus putting the pressure where it belongs, which is on admin to get you the resources so you can properly teach, the chances are I first also thought, well, maybe she just can't teach. And maybe she can teach, maybe she doesn't have the right tools and resources to teach effectively, right? The amount of frustration that I heard from her, and this is happening, and mind you, parents do the same thing. So I'm not throwing teachers under the bus. Parents do the very same thing. They shame their kids thinking it's motivating them.
Yeah.
Asking the kid, are you lazy? That's not a way to build connection.
Yeah, because what's funny is that I was looking at, when I seen the video, I think you showed me the video. When I saw the video, was it T? Somebody showed us that video. When I saw the video, I was like, damn. But that wasn't the thing that had me tripping, because I could tell that she was stressed out, and teachers get stressed. Alexis, you're a teacher. Teachers get stressed out. I've seen the work y'all got to do, the curriculum they make you guys teach with a little bit. Yeah. And when you guys are trying to balance out, well, I want them to learn this, but I gotta put this in here.
Yeah.
Because they don't even need right now.
Yeah, and it's hard because the standardized testing is coming up is going to be based on that curriculum. So what I was looking at was a lot of people in the comments, and some of them I knew, we follow each other, and it wasn't saying anything bad. I think that sometimes we think that ruling with an iron fist is the way to get kids to figure it out. But I also have to remember a lot of our folks ain't never been in a classroom except for when they were students.
Yep.
So this is all they know. So I wasn't going to go hard on them. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to go hard on the system more than anything.
And it's so crazy because I had the same reaction because I started reading the comments. Now, as a person who's highly sensitive about how we treat Black children in particular, I mean, highly sensitive. I'm that person. The only other person I think is as sensitive as me is Mark Black of Black Outcast Media. We be extra hard on that shit, right? But so when I was reading it, I was triggered by it because school is one of my biggest traumas, right up there with religion and bad parenting, right? So school is one of my traumas, dead serious, right? That's why I was a student activist growing up. That's part of the reason why school hated me too. I used to lead protests and shit, right? But I've always felt so dismissed in school. I felt so alone in school. I felt like it was one of the worst places on earth. And I feel like school should never feel like that to anyone. But when I would listen to people talk about their experience in school, they internalized it thinking that was what was supposed to happen. Well, I was bad. That's why this happened to me. They kicked me out because I was bad. They kicked you out because they gave up and they didn't know what the fuck they were doing in the first place.
Yeah, they didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
But you didn't.
And I wanted to ask. Oh, go ahead. I want to finish. I don't want to cut you off.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to ask Alexis. Being in the system of education, right? And I don't want to put your age out there, but I'm guessing you're grown. So, but do you remember being in K through 12? And the video we just showed, are you from Florida also?
Yes, born and raised.
Okay. So
don't diss Floridians.
I ain't gonna diss. I'm a University of Miami fan. Why would I diss Floridians? Oh, and Jamila is my homegirl. That's the homie. She's from Overtown or somewhere. But when you was in school and you see that video, do you see it as a professional now going to the classroom? Is it the same thing, or do you believe? Because some people will say these are isolated incidents. They don't believe this is a systemic thing.
Let's see. Honestly, when I watched the video, it kind of took me back to my mom. My mom is one of those, if Johnny had 3 apples.
I know what you're about to say.
And it was with my
Johnny
brother.
had 3 damn apples.
My mom literally went through that whole scenario with my brother. So it kind of took me back to that moment. And that's actually why I wanted to become an educator as well. Because I was always the one that was able to bridge that gap between my mom and my brother and assist him with his work because I'm the oldest. So it kind of brought me back to that because I could see their postures, and that was like the same posture that my brother had as my mom was like, digging into him about doing this math. But my brother has ADHD. It's hard for him to focus. He's very active. He's always been very active. And so those are things that she didn't take into account, especially since my mom worked so hard to have to come home to help my brother with his homework. So It's kind of not exactly the same dynamic, but I could see the pressure on her, just like I could see the pressure on my mom trying to make sure that she raised, her kids right and make sure that we were able to do this work and go on the right path. So that kind of brought me back to that a little bit. That's what came to mind as I viewed the video.
I love that. You know why I love that? I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Vita. Go ahead.
Just real quick. The reason why I love that is because your reaction was empathy. You were able to connect with that with your own experiences. And I always encourage teachers to do that. Take yourself back to that moment, how you felt or how you would feel, or the things that you've already experienced or saw for yourself, as opposed to just taking it as this isolated thing, connecting it with other ways other things that you've seen or other things you've experienced. That's a great way to relate and connect with the students. But go ahead, Kim.
Yeah, that's the perfect way. I mean, because working and you said your brother had ADHD. These are things that teachers don't, if they don't know these things, and they're working with a student that has ADHD or that whatever is going on, you know what I mean? And I only know this because when you go into certain schools, I remember back in the day, it used to be kids that had different little things going on. They would be in a different class.
Right.
Now they're all integrated in the same classroom now. So if the teacher does not know, like some students need a paraeducator. So if some teachers don't know that they have these things going on, and I know that there's teachers that don't know that
a lot of stuff.
they don't know.
Those undiagnosed too. Kids are getting and not getting diagnosed.
So if they don't know these things, how I don't know. There's trainings, but they don't have the time, especially in COVID right now, the way they're doing teachers right now. And I tell people all the time, I didn't want to be a teacher because they treat y'all like dogs. Like they treat y'all horrible. You know what I mean? They treat teachers bad. You know what I mean? And they don't pay y'all enough. So seeing that, and you go into a classroom and you got 5 kids that are on IEP, another one ADHD, and all these different things going on. One might be bipolar. Then you got another kid whose parents is beating them. You don't know what's going on at home, but still, as a teacher, there comes a point in time where you have to ask questions. As you know, they have staff. I'm sure as a substitute, you've been to all those staff meetings. You know what I mean? I'm not even a teacher and I go to staff meetings. These staff meetings are 2.5 hours long, at least twice a month. And these conversations come up. But what I noticed with a lot of teachers is that they individualize everything. They feel like they're on an island by themselves. And most teachers don't come together as a community of teachers to work with these certain situations that are going on. They look at their kids as their kids, your kids are your kids, and then we'll have a conversation and complain and whine or whatever the fuck. And then we get out of the meeting. And I don't think that that's a sufficient way to push the next generation of kids through education, because there's absolutely no way that as a teacher, because if you have 30 kids to a classroom, you got 8 periods a day. How many kids is that a day? A lot. Okay, I'm not even gonna do the math. A lot of kids. So if you got all those kids, there's no way you can sufficiently support them by yourself.
Right.
Every day for 202 days a year. You know what I'm saying? There's absolutely no way. So I feel for teachers, but then there's a lot of teachers that I know that just don't care. You know what I mean?
I will say this about the teachers that don't care. I don't think they started off that way. I think
they didn't.
And I learned that too. A lot of things I learned not from actually teaching. I learned from training teachers more, because I got to see what the perspectives were like and what was going through the minds of a lot of teachers. And depending on the community I was training in, or doing the trainings in, it would determine how the staff saw their students. Right. One of the things that I always notice, especially going to school, working in schools where there's a lot of, let's say a highly traumatized community. So out here, the east side of South Central would be like a community, like very neglected. Kids have been through a lot. Families have been through that, high poverty, right? You get these staff people who aren't equipped to work with those students, and they don't have the support. So they'll get somebody like me to come in and do a training with them, right? Every time they tell me, okay, all you stuff you're teaching us is cool, but how am I supposed to implement that? I don't got time for that. Right. When am I going to be able to do this? Like they send these teachers to all types of trainings, and most of them aren't that good. I know, because I sat in so many bad trainings. There are some really bad trauma-informed care trainings. Oh yeah. They're way too technical, and you don't learn how to actually work with students, right? So I know that teachers are under so much pressure. One of the things I wanted to give, one of my very first tips to you, when you asked for some strategies and tips, and I'm going to give you my first tip and my first strategy. And to me, this is going to set the tone for everything that you do. Do not come in with a list of rules.
Got it.
Do not come in with a list of rules. It's like one of the worst things you can do. Why? Because all you've done is say, this is a dictatorship, and I'm going to impose these rules onto you. What I do recommend doing is, first day, when the kids sitting down, you say, all right, what do we want to do in this class? What do you want to get out of this class? You're going to have to be here. We all got to be here. What do you want out of this class? Let them tell you, I want to have fun. I want to learn. I want to, kids, they'll tell you what you want to hear, and they're going to tell you what they really feel, right? They're going to shout all kinds of stuff, right? Then you say, okay, highlight some of the big ones that you can say yes to. I would say, find what you can say yes to. You can't play kickball in the class, Right. Right? Highlight the ones that we can do. And then you say, okay, I heard you guys want to learn. What are some of the best ways we can do that? What can we agree to do? We agree to do, not just them. What can we agree to do to make that happen? And that's where your rules are going to come in, right?
Yeah.
Not rules. These are things they came up with. And now you help them along. Like, and what they'll do is they'll say the things like this. No talking while you're talking. I always say, stay away from words like no and don't.
No, yeah.
You say, wait your turn to speak. Is that what we agree to do? Yeah. Okay. Somebody says, well, we want to have fun. Well, we get to play kickball after 30 minutes. If it's something that you can't say, you might say, well, maybe we can't do kickball. Well, handball. We can do handball.
Right.
So you're not telling them no, you're offering, because what they want to do is what they're telling you. Remember, you're listening to what's underneath. We need physical activity.
Yeah, so you're giving them choices.
Right.
Right.
Kids love choices. They don't like deadlines or
none of that shit.
They don't like, they don't even like the word options. They like choices.
Choices. And the thing about choices, and this is one of the principles of trauma-informed care, is providing choice. Because when you experience the trauma, you didn't have a choice. Right. So when kids lack that ability to make a choice, it becomes triggering for them, especially with children, because they don't get a lot of opportunities to make their own choices. So when you take that away from them, it becomes triggering, right? So they're going to communicate to you what they need. You can't dismiss it. A lot of times we teach adults do is we dismiss, oh, that's silly. But we have to hear what's being said. Maybe you can't take all the kids out to the play yard to play kickball after 30 minutes of math. Maybe you can't do that. But what we can do is this. Oh, it sounds like you guys want some physical activity. Is that what I'm hearing? Yeah. Okay, what if we do this? They'll agree to it or they won't. Maybe they'll come up with something else. Mind you, this is a process. It might take you most of the class to do it, but it'll set the entire tone for the rest of your semester because they're engaged. And these are things that they agreed to. So let's say something happens. Let's say one of the things they said was no hitting. And you say, okay, we keep bodies safe. I always use that word. How do we keep bodies safe? Okay, do we agree to keep bodies safe? Yes. The three of the things I like to always make sure: keep bodies safe, keep property safe, and keep hearts safe. Hearts meaning that we don't hurt people's feelings, right? Yeah. So I would not even throw things like that, or let them tell me, that I kind of rephrase it to where it's a positive versus a no or a don't. And the reason why I don't do no and don't, because that's harder to follow. And the way when I do my trainings, I give partner people up, they get a map, a map, like a little maze, not a map, a maze, right? Mm-hmm. And I have them, one person blindfolds themselves, and their job is to get through the maze based off of the instructions of their partner. They might say, go left or go right, go down, whatnot, right? Mm-hmm. Now, instead of telling them go left, go right, you tell them the opposite of what you want. Don't go left, don't go right, don't go up. And then you try to see how well you get through that maze blindfolded. Then we do it again, where they just say, go down, go left, go right. The maze still isn't perfect, but you're basically through the maze, right? And that's what we want. That's why I always encourage saying things differently. Tell them what you do want versus what you don't. What we want is to keep bodies safe. Because this is what kids will do, because kids are smart as hell. They'll go, well, I didn't hit him. I just kicked the ball at him. And guess what? They right. They didn't.
Right.
That wasn't on the list. That wasn't on your rule list. And nothing worse than being a teacher caught like that. That's like the worst, right? Because then you just lost everything, right?
Right.
And in order for you to keep them, you have to admit that you were give it to them. But now you have this other kid that was hurt, and you can't give, and you can't address the situation the proper way because he didn't hit him, right? So that always say what you really want. We keep bodies safe. Was that keeping his body safe? No. Well, we agreed to keep bodies safe. Do you still agree to that? Yes. Okay. And guess what? It clicks because it was their choice. That they were a part of that. It wasn't imposed on them. They agreed to it. Sometimes I even ask them, do we change that agreement? Because what if somebody hurts you?
Wow.
Right. So that's one of my first tips. Go in with a list of agreements. Go in with connecting. Don't go in with the list. Build the list with them. And that way they can feel safe to learn in your classroom because they already know that you have their back, that you're listening to them, that you're not dismissive of their needs. Go ahead.
I was going to say, that list of agreements changes when you start going into high school.
Because
they come in with an entirely different situation going on. They need someone that's going to support them the way because kids will come in and say, well, my mom, I have this. So, I live in Portland. So all these liberals say they don't want kids, they don't want to go to their parents don't want their kids going into the military. And I've had students say, no, I want to go into the military. My parents don't want me to go. How do I go about this? Because what they did was they created, I think they do this everywhere. But if you're going to have colleges come on campus, you have to allow the military to come on campus. It's like some type of deal they made with the federal government. And when the military comes, there are kids that want to go. They really do want to go. They're looking at the opportunities that exist, but their parents are completely against it. And it becomes a battle. So it's a battle. It's pretty much, I told the kids all the time, man, it's a battle for your soul. Your parents have an idea where they want you to go, but that's not where you want to go. And the only place they can have this honest conversation about what it is that they want to do is talking to me. You know what I mean? Talking to admin, talking to whoever their favorite teacher is, and trying to get. And the thing about kids is there are always those kids that are going to want you to tell them what they want to hear. You know what I mean? But if you talk to them like human beings, they'll accept the criticism, or they accept the ideas. They accept the disagreement, or the agreement to disagree. You know what I mean? They accept those conversations because they're actually asking you, will you help? I'm critically thinking about this. You're older than me, most of the time, at least 10 years older than me. Does this make sense?
Right.
If it's something that's dangerous, I'm going to immediately tell a kid, hey, let's have a conversation with your parents. If that kid says, I can't talk to my parents about this, now you got to go another level. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I think sometimes it's hard for people to do that. It's really hard because they don't really, especially if you're a teacher, if you're a counselor, admin, these are conversations, because there's a lot of conversations that they don't want you to have with their parents. They want to keep this in-house, in the school. And I tell kids all the time, my door is always open. It's a safe space. If you don't want to go to class or there's something going on, you can always come into my office. I ain't got very much room. You know what I'm saying? I ain't gonna have all y'all in there. So, you know what I mean? So eventually, and this was when I just started working at this school a year and a half ago. And then next thing I know, it wasn't even 3 weeks. My office was full. And it's because I was able to have these conversations. Because I'm not a hypocrite, I remember what it was like being 16. Mm-hmm. I remember what it. Yeah.
And it felt good, I'm sure, for them to have a safe space on campus for them to go to, not just physically, but emotionally.
Emotionally, exactly.
And me knowing the kind of person you are, I know that at the same time it wasn't because you were the cool guy that let them just hang out and do nothing in your room.
No,
I'm sure, because I just know how you are.
Yeah, but what you said it like you said a list of agreements. You know what I mean?
Right.
No time. You can come in whenever you want. Bring your work.
Right.
Right.
You know I'm saying, have something to do.
And you know what's crazy? You'd be surprised how kids won't abuse things like that.
No, they never do.
I try to tell people that. People always say, well, you don't have kids in your class all the time or in your room all the time. I said, you'd be surprised. They don't really abuse it. They know when they want to. And on top of that, they know your energy and when it's best to be in there. Like if I know they'd be back on that yard and not in my room with me, I'll make sure, hey, I know you want to hang out here, but it's really important that you socialize and you make some friends. Yeah, and somebody did that to me once, right. And I loved it. That was the best thing that person could have did was kick me out their office, right?
I have a kid that's I think she's 19. She goes to a college now. But every blue moon, she'll hit me up like, oh, I was thinking about this. Or, when COVID happened, she was stuck on campus and she couldn't go home because she got two sisters there. They both got kids. Her mom is there. Her mom is working 2-3 jobs. She don't even have a room anymore. They took her room and gave it to her other sister and her kids. So she literally is stuck on campus trying to figure out what can I do because I'm getting cabin fever. She runs track. So she's stuck because she's got to run track. And she's got to keep her grades up. And so we have these conversations about, where you're at right now, where you're trying to go, and what all this means. You know what I'm saying? This means a lot. You're 19 years old, going on 20. You got a lot going on. You're on scholarship. It's a lot of pressure, but let's look at the opportunities that exist. And, you got family members that's depending on you. You're the one. I told her, you're the one. Yeah. That's you're the one. Your sisters are all 21, 22, got multiple babies. They live at home, all these kind of things. You are the one. You know what I mean?
The other thing I think adults have to remember is because they also don't realize how much they put pressure on the kids that are doing well in school.
Yeah.
I don't think they always realize that because then they become, like you said, the one. right?
Yeah.
They're the one that has to now be the savior of the family. And that's an unfair position for a kid to already have to be in. And it doesn't help when I feel like school staff ignore that because they're so focused on cheering on and holding up this, this beacon of their school, right? Like, oh, look at this wonderful student. They get all these grades. But this kid is cracking underneath.
They're not allowed to fail.
Right.
Exactly. And
they're not allowed to be stressed out.
Exactly. Because when I was in school, those kids were like put on a pedestal.
Yeah.
And I had friends who were a part of that. And they felt so much pressure to be perfect. And that was a very scary thing for me to witness. And a lot of teachers did not know how to support that. What they did was constantly humiliate them by putting them in front of the classroom and saying, look at so-and-so. She did it. Look at how great she
and
is.
Trust me, those kids
hate them.
They don't like that shit. Those
and
kids
embarrassing them. And they think they're embarrassed. And the thing that makes me mad is adults will think the kid is embarrassed because they don't want kids to know how good they're doing in school. They don't care about that because kids cheer on their friends when they do good in school. I don't know where people get this myth that black kids don't like kids who are smart. But nobody wants to be held up as a favorite.
No.
Because
Even the school top athlete, they don't really care to be. They just want to kick it with their friends, go to McDonald's, and do what kids do because that's what they are. They're kids.
But the school has this other agenda, right? They want to show that they're doing a great job, so they hold up these other students, right? The funny thing I wanted to go back to something Kenny said about the kids who want to join the military. You better than me because all my kids know better. They know because I talk so much shit about the military.
I mean, no, I'll tell you. Well, you gotta remember the school that I work at is 87% white.
Oh, that's right.
So these kids, but this is the thing, they're white liberals. So their parents and their grandparents do not want anything to do with the military. And this is the crazy thing is that the rule is if you allow the colleges on campus, you have to allow the military on campus. And if you allow the military on campus, you have to allow anti-military people on campus.
That's such a Portland thing.
So yeah. The same day that the military comes, these really, really old people will show up and they dress like it was 1968. I swear, I'm not making this up. And they show up with signs, peace signs and stuff. And
when I was coming up, we had way more military presence than we did college presence. Like dead serious. The only way you got into really, even when we had colleges there, you had to be one of the students selected to go to that assembly.
Yeah.
All the students didn't even get the opportunity to hear from that school unless you had a teacher who brought someone to their class. But other than that, you were like selected, or it was really trash how they did shit like that. But the military was pushed like a motherfucker. That's why. But when I worked in Watson, these kids would tell me they was going to join the military. The only reason why most of them want to join the military, and it's different, definitely different than Portland, or a school that's 87% white. But I don't care if they send their kids; it's their military. But our kids go because they don't know what else to do.
They don't know what else to do.
They don't know how to start a business. They don't have any funding or support to start a business. They don't have any other plans or ideas. So all they know is, well, I guess I want to be homeless and I don't know what else to do. I'm just going to join the military. I actually met a girl who only joined the military because she didn't want to be homeless. And that's a lot of pressure for students to try to make these decisions without opportunities and without options. And I always been a big proponent of, let's make a plan and figure out what it is you want to do. Let's not just want to go to college. What is your plan? What do you want to do? You don't know yet? Go to community college first. You can figure out some stuff first. You're not going to just hop on, planes, fly across the country, and you know what the fuck you want to do. And you get there and you fail out. Because other than that kids would do. Kids in the hood would go to these other schools. I'm dead serious. Be valedictorians in their school and damn near fail out of Stanford.
Yep.
Right. Because our valedictorians are not at the same level as valedictorians of these kids.
And there's a conversation that goes on. I did my whole comprehensive exam on that. Basically, there's no mentorship on those campuses for Black kids. So you go on these campuses, you're the one of how many Black kids at Stanford? And even if you are one of 1,000, well, if you're from South Central Watts, well, you might be the only one Black kid from that environment. All the other kids are from Raleigh, Durham, and the suburbs of Buckhead and Atlanta, and the suburbs of Dallas, Fort Worth, and that's where those kids are from. So you don't have an identity. You guys don't identify. You guys just happen to both be Black. That's it. That don't mean shit. Okay, honestly, you know what I'm saying. When you get on a campus, it doesn't mean anything. So the first thing you're gonna do, and Black boys fell out at a way higher rate. Non-athlete. they're on campus. They probably fell out within the first semester because the lack of cultural and what is the word? Oh shit, I can't think of the word. It's an academic word. Cultural and cultural. Say it again.
I said competency. I don't know.
No, not cultural competency, but the lack of I guess like social grouping. You know, there's nobody they identify with the campus. So you're either going to be an athlete, join Greek life, or you're pretty much out there in the abyss of whatever is going on. And for Black boys, they drop out first semester, and they can be straight A students coming from, you know, like you were saying.
Absolutely. And this is why I always am leery about just pushing kids into college for multiple reasons. One, I think it just puts a lot of debt on you if you don't know what you're doing, you know, and you don't know what you want to do. But also, I don't think it's necessarily is it cultural affinity you're trying to say?
Cultural affinity, yes.
Okay. I just don't think it's one of those things that's going to really help Black people. Because what happened was most of us got, I won't say most, but a lot of us got these degrees and we still work in the same kind of jobs our parents worked.
Yep. Yeah.
Because you know why? Because the requirements just changed for those jobs. It's the same.
Well, we're still saying we need more Black teachers. We're still saying that we need more right. Black teachers. You know, I mean, we have Alexis here. Alexis, you're one of, honestly, in my real life, I know you. My daughter's godmom is a teacher. I know you know, my peers, about 7 Black teachers. That's it.
Wow. Oh, I like something Chaotic Good said. And I guess turning to our previous discussion, that should also, you know, I guess favoring students or putting certain students on a pedestal. It increases competition between children when schools should promote collaboration between students. And I 100% agree with that. Yes. One of the things that, and I think we talked about this, or maybe it was me and Mark Black who talked about this, the importance of unity. And one of the things that pushing discord and contention does is it creates disunity, right? So now our students don't even know how to connect and collaborate. Remember I was giving you the example of what these kids in Redondo Beach are learning?
Oh yeah.
That's what they're learning, how to collaborate. How do I make sure what I want and what you want both come to fruition?
Yeah.
And how can we make that happen?
Yeah, our kids are doing more of a race to the finish line. Who could be first?
Yeah.
Right. Who could be first? Who can be the one that's held up? And if you feel like you don't have a chance in hell, you just give up altogether. Yeah. Right.
I think that might be why I'm kind of tired of cahoots.
Because
it's just a competition. It's I'm sorry, my mom's dog. I'm babysitting. She's somewhere having fun, but I'm babysitting her dog. But yeah, so the kids like cahoots, but I'm so tired of cahoots. I want to do projects together. I want things to be done together. I want to unify. I'm tired of these competitions. Who ranked first, who ranked second, who ranked third. And I think that might be why I might have just realized why I'm tired of cahoots.
And cahoots is what?
Oh, it's an interactive quiz game. So you can download the app.
Oh yeah, I've heard of cahoots. I've heard of it. Yeah. I just found out about that.
Yeah, we use Kahoot a lot. And I am kind of tired of it. But it's pretty much just like an interactive quiz app that you can use in class.
Yeah, I don't like quizzes because I hate regurgitation, and I don't think that's conducive to actually learning and absorbing information. It's always about how do I recall some random trivia that somebody told me. I've just never been a fan of that. Category said people push this Black women are the most educated group, but most are in deep debt, still working those entry-level jobs, unable to afford to start families. It's an absolute race to the bottom now. You know, and that's one of the things that irritates me is when people push these statements and these slogans that aren't reality. Like Black women are the backbone of the Democratic Party. Black women are the most educated group. All this stuff. You know why I have a problem with it? Because it ignores the reality of the real suffering that Black women are experiencing right now. It is very hard right now for a lot of Black women. So not every Black woman has gone to college. And those of us who did, he's absolutely right. We are in serious debt. We can't even get houses. It's hard for these white folks to get a house. It's damn near sure hard for Black people to get a house. And that's when you got great credit, right? So it's really difficult for Black women right now. And everybody's, I feel like the media has been doing this push. Like, look at how great Black women are doing. We're not. We're dying in hospitals every fucking day. And I ain't heard a single Democrat.
What they're trying to do is they want to separate Black women from the Black community. But as the Black woman goes, the Black child goes, and Black men go. As Black men go, Black women go, Black children go. Yep. You couldn't separate the Jewish community that way. You can't separate the Latino community that way. You damn sure can't separate Black people that way. Because if Black men are in prison at whatever rate it is now, and Black children are being miseducated and literally fed into the prison, school to prison pipeline at the rate it is now, well, really what you're doing is you're clowning Black women then.
Yep.
That's an inside joke. You're telling an inside joke.
It's insulting. Like, the shit irritates me.
You're locking her children up. If you lock her children up, what are you going to say about her?
How are you? This is what I try to explain to somebody. And I had an old pinned tweet, and I said basically, in short, that Black men aren't free if Black women aren't free, and Black women aren't free if Black men aren't free. You just not free. And somebody said, that's not true. You can build with it. Something about the Moors, some bullshit he said. And I said, and then a woman too said some dumb shit. And I was like, wait a minute. I said, how can you as a woman, as a mother, be free if your son isn't free? How are you a free woman knowing your child is shackled? I have no mother on the planet that loves their child would ever say that they're free if their child isn't free. You got mothers whose kids are in prison right now who feel like they're in prison right now. And you have the nerve to say, no, that's not true. It doesn't. No, we are 100% dependent on each other. Yeah. So that divisiveness shit, this, we're going to put Black women on a pedestal and demean Black men, and put Black men on a pedestal while doing nothing for Black women. That's really the problem. Don't tell me, we're the most educated group and we still can't afford shit. Don't tell me the most educated group. My credit looks like shit because I got a $60,000 debt.
Well, it's this simple. For Alexis, she's a teacher, right? Substitute teacher or not, you're a teacher. So when you go into a classroom and they're putting all this propaganda narrative stuff out there. Well, now you got to go into this classroom and deal with the reality. You know what I mean? You don't get to go into a classroom and it's just all girls and they're all 4.0 students and they're all getting ready to go to Spelman and Howard and Harvard. That's not real life. No. You're going to go into a classroom and you're going to deal with young Black girls who are going through traumatic situations, Black boys who are dealing with traumatic situations, Black children who are just going through life, period. Right. You know what I mean? And it's and at this time their hormones are doing all of this. So they're kind of crazy. You know what I mean? They're kind of, something's not, they don't know. I've had kids come up to me and a kid goes, man, Kenny, I think I have, what did he say? He thought he was bipolar or something. I said, well, where'd you get that from? Well, because my friend said, I said, wait, your friend diagnosed you? I said, hold on. So much. I said, go out of my door and then come back.
Your ass off. I know you did.
I did. I was cracking up laughing. I was like, wait a minute, who said that to you? And later on that day, I saw his friend. I said, why did you tell him that? Oh, because he was tripping earlier today. And I was just like, man, you must be bipolar or something. Oh my God. I said, are you fucking serious? Look what you just did. Now he's losing his mind. He really believes he's bipolar. So these are the type of kids that are in your classroom. So the propaganda is not going to match up with real life. No. And
so much, man.
I seen someone say it earlier, and they were saying that even with white students, yes, even with white, it does not matter. It does not matter. Look, Asian families, and they put a lot of pressure on their kids. You know what I mean? I've seen a story where it was a kid, an Asian kid, and he was, I think he was doing some type of taekwondo, karate or something, and he was like damn near like a black belt, but he also had to be in this engineering program, so he was sleeping 3 hours a day because his parents had so much pressure on him. You know what I mean? So it crosses racial color lines when we're talking about the pressures that kids have to deal with in school. So I got this kid who was telling me he's bipolar because of what his friend said. I'm thinking that his mom might have had a note or something, and I got to talk to his parents, and I'm like, Man, you don't get the hell out of my office. Like, what the hell?
Yo, let me tell you, the reason why that shit cracks me up so much is kids, because like clearly his friend was joking or just trying to clown.
He was just breaking his balls, yeah.
Yeah, but clearly he took it like, I might be bipolar.
I might be bipolar.
And he said, wait, your friend diagnosed you?
Yeah, I was like,
kids are so like, they're imaginative, right? So they take a lot of things to heart very quickly. And you don't always know what they're going to take to heart and what they're not going to take to heart. This poor kid thinking he's
I can almost visualize the stress on his face. Like,
oh, he was totally stressed out. There was a white kid. He was totally stressed out, and he came right to my office. He was like, I was like, because I needed him to do something. I forgot what it was. So he was supposed to come to my office anyway, but then he was just like tripping. I was like, man, what's wrong with you? Oh, I think I might be bipolar. I think I need to go talk to my counselor and then go talk to my parent. I'm like, well, what happened? Well, I was talking to David, and David said, I'm like, you talking about David, your friend that you be with in the hallway? He was like, yeah. I said, are you serious? I said, hold on. Consider the source. Who are we talking about here? I asked him, I said, do you know what bipolar means? Well, no, I just know that it means, okay, let's stop. Okay, I need you to do something. You came here for a reason. But we'll talk about that later because your friend is reinforcing a bunch of bullshit in your ear and he's fucking with you. He really is. I think, you guys, I mean, you're a 16-year-old. You probably was tripping. You was tripping, but it doesn't mean you're bipolar. You was just tripping.
Yo, I love kids so much, man. Like, that's literally one of my favorite things because they really will come into your office with some bizarre shit. You be like, wait, where the fuck did you even get this from?
Yeah. Pick better friends, man. You have your friend. Yeah.
But like this, like, you know how there's always like this weird person like in your neighborhood, like, where they're like older, they're homeless maybe, or just, something. There's always like this person. So they would make this guy told me, one of his little boys told me this little crazy ass story about this guy. He's not, mind you, he don't know none of this is true. He's not how kids are. This person is scary. I heard that he eats children, so you can't go over there. And they'll be like, what are you talking about? Why would you think he eats children? That man ain't bothering nobody. He just minding his business.
That's what kids do. Kids
talking about the man's by the gate and he eats children. No, he don't.
Right.
Leave the man alone.
But if you don't understand children and children get on your nerves, like we had the same thing. There was kids. There's a guy, and I remember this from when I was a kid. There was a guy that lived in my neighborhood. His name was Jim. We don't know nothing else about Jim. All we knew about Jim is that he always stood outside. He smoked a pipe, like a tobacco pipe, and he was standing out there literally every day. And then we started creating stories about what Jim does. We saw Jim with a banjo. Next thing you know, we said, oh, Jim probably killed somebody. That's why he plays the guitar all day.
Oh my
God. Then another kid said, we saw Jim by the train tracks. And I think he was down there because some bullshit we made up. And now everybody's scared of Jim. I'm not making this up. Everybody's afraid of Jim.
He didn't do anything.
And Jim ain't never did nothing to nobody. For all we know, Jim just wanted to go outside and smoke. He wanted to smoke in the morning and then go back in the house.
The kids be on one. And that's the thing. I feel like when you work with kids, you have to be so patient, understanding that their minds aren't, they're still in a space where they're so creative. And they're still in a space where their minds are building a story. Yeah. Remember, when you're a kid, your parents have to help you make sense of things, right? I always encourage, when I teach my parenting classes, I always talk about making books. There's some really great YouTube videos about it. Basically, how to help your, small children make sense of what their experience was. They had, for example, they went to the dentist. It was very scary for them. They didn't want to get in the car seat to go, and it was a big to-do. And you had to force them in the car seat and get them to the dentist. They had to hold them down to the dentist. Now, if you worried you traumatized your baby, because they need to go to the dentist.
Yep.
Now, what I always talk about, at the end of the day, they had to go to the dentist. They had to be in the car seat for their own safety. But you can help them make sense of it, right? This is help them talk about it. Mommy and I got in the car. I don't like the car seat. It's too tight. I cried. Mommy held me afterwards. We went to the dentist. I cried at the dentist. Mommy gave me a hug and told me it will be okay. Help them create a narrative and a story so that incident isn't just the highlight of everything, right? It's that did happen, and mommy gave me a hug and a kiss, and I'm
Right.
okay, and I'm safe now. So the reason why you do that is you have to help kids with that story, help them make sense of their experiences.
You got to cultivate, cultivating the story. You know,
exactly.
it's this simple. A little kid, I have a nephew who's 3. If I give him a crayon, where do you think he's going? Straight to the wall. You know what I mean? If you look at, he's going straight to the wall. Any kid, a 3-year-old, you give them a pencil, a pen, a crayon, they're going straight to the wall. Well, that's one of the earliest ways that we communicate. However, we feel like we can communicate. If you go look in the caves over in Russia or wherever, they found those cave paintings where people, this is the way they communicated. You know what I mean? 10,000, 30,000 years ago, they went to go right on the wall. Well, that's telling you that the brain is actually functioning the right way. You want to communicate, you know? So how do you cultivate that communication? How do you cultivate these ideas? And you ain't gonna cultivate those ideas by telling kids they're lazy and they must be babies. And I don't care where you read and how you read and what the standard is. And you ain't gonna get shit out of that. All you're gonna get is a kid that skips your class.
Right.
They skipping. That's gonna be where they go smoke a joint.
Opposite of what the goal was, right?
Right.
Sada just said kids just want attention and to be seen as interesting. I knew a girl who would lie about everything all the time. It annoyed the shit out of me as a kid, but now I recognize it as a form of escapism. There's a couple of things that you said, Catajas, I want to highlight. The first one is kids just want attention and to be seen as interesting. Yes, it's not the only thing kids want, but it's definitely right up there. Like
it's one of them.
And acceptance, attention, acceptance, affection, connection. I feel like there's another one, but I can't remember what the other one is at the moment. So yes, absolutely. Kids want to be seen, and they want to be seen as, honestly, everybody wants attention. We all need it. We all want it, right? All 3 of us are on camera getting attention right now, right?
Yep.
So we all, and those, I bet, when we highlight your statement on the screen, you feel like, okay, I got some attention from what I just said. And it's not a bad thing. Attention is not a negative thing. It's a beautiful thing. What happens what you do for it, the strategy to get that need met, is where things become questionable, right? Or things have to be addressed. So the girl who would lie about everything, I'm sure she wanted to be seen as interesting. Her need for attention is what drove that behavior, because clearly whatever she was doing before wasn't getting her the attention that she wanted. And now she figured out a way to make that happen. And it's funny how, the second part of what you said, it annoyed the shit out of me as a kid, but now I recognize it as a form of escapism. Exactly. This one of the dope things of being an adult, especially learning a lot of stuff that I know now around working with children, is I can go back to my childhood, and I had a really, really rough childhood, right? And I've talked about it on this show many times. And I got, dealt with a lot of bullying and stuff when I was in elementary and middle school. And I ran into one of them. Actually, I was on a date, and I ran into one of my bullies from middle school. And she comes up to me and she's apologizing to me, crying and apologizing how she was terrible. Like, she was really terrible to me. And the funny thing was, I hadn't really thought anything of it. I didn't really care. But as we were talking, I started telling her, so, the only thing that was tough about that is I was going through a lot at home, but I would get to school and have to deal with this. And she said, yeah, I understand. She said, part of the reason I think I was so aggressive with you is because I was getting beat at home. And the thing is, I remember her being scarred up when we were kids. I remember it because she's really, really light skinned. So I remember her being bruised. I remember her having scratches, but I just assume, kids I live in the hood. People fight all the time. You know what I mean? And then when we were talking, and it was like I realized, I had already healed from that shit, so it wasn't a big deal. But I really realized how much she had gone through and what she was going through and how is that played out on our school campus. This is why the role of adults is so important, because you have to be able to recognize what's happening between students. You'd be surprised. A lot of times the bully and the other kid might have been friends, depending on if there was an adult there to help them to connect. Yeah. Me and that girl probably really could have been friends, but there was nobody there to help us connect. So she took out her aggression on me. And that's all she knew. Well, she didn't physically fight me because I ought to beat her ass. But And everybody could fight when I was growing up. It wasn't like a big thing. Everybody could fight. But she would do like, those mean girl things, humiliate me. Which to me, honestly, those were worse than my fights. Because that's something that's harder to live down. Well, now it's hard because they videotape these fights now. The kids have.
Yeah, they last forever now.
You had a fight. The most you got was a story told, and half the time the shit wasn't true the way they told it anyway. Right. But so my humiliation, the stuff that hurt the most were the things that were humiliating, right? And she would do things like that. And it's because she didn't know how to deal with her feelings. Nobody taught her. Nobody showed her. Nobody in our school. The most that would happen is she would get in trouble for picking on me or whatever. She gets sent to the dean. Oh, you don't do that, and then sent back to class. She didn't learn anything. I didn't learn anything. Nothing.
All they had to do was ask a question.
What'd you say?
All they had to do was ask a question.
All they had to do. All they had to do was check in with all the students. We can't say we want to address bullying and only attack parents and students and say the parents are failing, the students are just mean and evil. Are you fostering an environment for connection? That's why I teach the classes that I teach. What environment have you set to decrease the number of fights that are in the classroom? Do you know how to empathize? If you don't know how to do it, you can't teach them to empathize. Everything has to move through you first. Have you dealt with your trauma and your triggers? Because these kids are triggering you and you don't even realize it. You're triggered every time a kid, quote unquote, talks back to you because you got smacked every time you said something and asked a question. So now you triggered every time a kid asks a question. You don't even realize that's happening to you while you're in the classroom. So I talk about addressing your own trauma and your own issues. Why does when a student does this, why does that trigger you so much? Why the student has a hoodie on in the back of the classroom. I always talk about the hoodie because every classroom all across America has a kid in the back of the class with a hoodie that wears a hoodie. Just like there's always a kid, every time I teach a training, there's always a teacher who tells them about the kid. They always say, well, what about the kid who throws the chair? They always ask me that question. So what about the kid who throws the chair? My answer is always the same. Duh. What the fuck else can you do at that point, right? Because the fact is, you let it get all the way to the point where they're throwing a goddamn chair at you, right? Because you missed all the other things they were telling you before it got to the point where they're tossing a chair at your head, right? And the funny thing is, hoodie kids sometimes the chair kid. And the reason is because you sat up there bothering this kid who wasn't bothering nobody, sitting in the back of the classroom because that's where he felt safest. That's why kids put their hoodie on and they sit in the back. They feel unsafe, and that's the only way they can feel safe. It might be emotionally, it might be physically, right? It might be psychologically. But either way, you triggering them, take that hoodie off. They don't take it off. You mad because now your authority is challenged. Because remember, our own egos get in the way. We're worried about these other students. Well, now the other kids aren't going to listen to me because this kid's not listening to me. And so you end up triggered by that. You get more aggressive with the student. I said, take the hoodie off. I'm going to call security. Kid takes the hoodie off and now they mad. Then the teacher goes, fix your attitude and start participating. They say, there's a book or something flying at their head. They just sat up here pushing this kid who was traumatized by something, right? I always recommend leave a kid alone. When you have a time and to give them some attention and talk to them and sit down with them and talk to them, are you okay? No, I'm fine. I just don't want to do anything. Okay, I can understand that. How is, is there anything, let me know if there's something I can do to help you out today. No, miss, I just don't feel good today. Okay, leave them alone. After class, check in with them again. Let them know that you're there to support them. You won't have chaos in your classroom. You won't have to call security up in there. And by the next class, they'll probably be a little bit more open to you. It takes time. There's no magic trick to this. Kids aren't robots. That's other people
there's no trick.
And they want the tips and tricks to get kids to do what they want them to do. There's no such trick. Any training that tells you they got tips and tricks to get kids to do what you want to do, they lying to you. They're taking your money. Dead ass serious because they're not robots. So take time with the kids. Be patient with them. Be empathetic. Put yourself in their shoes. Because when you humiliate a student in front of the classroom, it's like a bus is coming at them. And they go, their body literally, their entire body goes into survival mode. The whole body goes into a space where they're terrified. Matter of fact, we got a minute. a really short video. Let me see if I can find this video. I love this video. Damn, what's the name of that video? Oh, I might have it on my computer actually. Pull it up.
While you pull that up, I have a student with the hoodie, and this young lady, actually today, I allowed her to wear her hoodie to read, and that actually helped her a lot, because the first time asking her to read out loud, she looked around, she was like a deer in headlights and was like, I changed my mind. But today I allowed her to wear her hoodie, and that kind of gave her a little confidence, and she actually participated today. So I was excited about that. So hearing this is just, it has my mind turning, and I'm ready to go back tomorrow and implement some things.
See, I don't just be talking on Twitter. They be thinking I just be talking. They don't know this is what I do. This is like my real life.
Yeah, right.
They think I just be on here saying I do this shit. No, I do the shit.
No, I do this shit every fucking day.
I'm glad you're here to actually, share that story, because I think sometimes people think the hoodie thing has to be about exerting authority, and it doesn't have to be that at all. Where the hell is this video? It's crazy because I know I have this video on here, and it's such a good video, and I really, 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 really want to pull it up for you, because it talks about what I was just talking about, that fear response, and what happens to a kid when you humiliate them. Let's see if I have it in this training. So I have it in my trainings. Do I have that clip? No. Kenny, say something while I look for this video.
Oh no, I was actually just talking to Mario. I wish he would jump on, because he has a son that's about to go to college and stuff. So, and we talk about this stuff all the time. It's talking about education. A lot of people told me, like, man, Kenny, you should have been a teacher. I was like, no, dude. I feel like everybody, it's not for everybody. You know what I'm saying? And not that I think I will be bad. It's just that I know that the kids, that will be the easy part. I'll just be cussing their parents out. A lot of kids' parents just ain't worth the damn, man. I hate to say it, but a lot of parents, man, I remember I've seen kids, and these are elementary school kids, and I'll never forget. This is my ex. She worked in schools, and I went to her job one day, and this kid was in 4th grade, I think. And it was late, they have, every state has a sun program, sun school, sun programs, all that kind of stuff. And he was in a sun program, which doesn't get out till about 7 o'clock. It's dark outside. The mom told him to just walk home. Well, we can't let him walk home because it's dark outside and he's only 8.
Right.
What?
So she got mad because she was leaving a lash appointment and had to come and take him home. And she got mad at admin, teachers, all kinds of people. Then got mad at him. And I don't work there, so I'm just standing there looking. But my ex at the time, she's like, ma'am, I can't let him walk home. Like, that doesn't even make any sense.
Not even.
Why would you even want us to let him walk home anyway? Like, why would you be okay with that?
Why was getting your lashes more important than your son getting home?
I will say, when I worked in schools, I used to have a lot of frustration with parents. That was literally my biggest frustration. And I would try my best to support them because I wanted to be patient. But the thing that ultimately helped me the most have empathy for a lot of these parents was when I started teaching the parenting classes.
Yeah.
And that helped me, especially because I was teaching people who had DCFS cases.
Yeah.
I had to really learn a lot of patience, because triggered me as a kid who was abused would go into, I think you're a bad person. But when I would hear them and I would listen to them, they literally just have no idea the way that they affect their children in how they treat them and things like this, right? So they think how you treat a child is like whether or not you scream on the phone at them. But leaving them with people and expecting them to just walk home unsafely is a part of that, because now the kid doesn't feel like you want them. They don't feel like you're connected with them.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, like, and a lot of parents, they think that they're doing what they think what they're doing is what's best for their kids, and they don't really understand that, dude. You're not helping your kid, man. Like, your kid would be doing a lot better if you would just honestly shut the fuck up and open your ears. You know what I mean? You don't know everything, and clearly you think that you know what's best. And I've never said this before, but I would like to be like, let me see your transcript. How'd you do in school? You know what I mean? And we can make this scientific. Let's draw a correlation. Okay, we can do this. But don't do the whole do as I say, not as I do. That ain't gonna work for kids.
No, I definitely understand that though.
What video are you trying to find?
Man, I can't even think of the name of it, and that's what's driving me even more crazy. Because I know I have the video. If I could think of the name of it, I could pull it up, but I can't even think of the name of it because I'm an idiot. I shouldn't call myself that. See, that's what happens when you've been traumatized.
See?
Is it the cortisol video? No, it's not this. Traumatized. Yeah, I'm hoping it's this video. Please let it be this video. If I found it, then yep, I found it. Whew. Okay. Now if I could just figure out how to make this. Okay. Woohoo. All right. I love this video so much. I use it in all my classes. Thank you so much, Landmark. We appreciate the donation. All right, let's share. You would think that by now I would be way better at this whole system here, but I still suck. So it is what it is. Let's share screen. There we go. Is it supposed to ask me if I want to share audio? Okay.
Yeah, you got to share audio.
I think I got it. Can you guys see the video?
Not yet.
It's loading.
Is it on yet?
Not yet.
I can see the screen, but not the video.
Yeah, I can't see a video, it's just a black screen.
The hard part right now. Oh, there we go.
The reality is that we all need a certain amount of stress, a certain amount of anxiety to perform well. We don't care about that exam that we're going to have tomorrow. We'll probably fail. If we're going to cross the street and a truck is coming at us, we have release of adrenaline. We have release of a hormone that we call cortisol. We want to jump out of there, and adrenaline and cortisol are going to help us do that. So there's that good amount of stress. But if all day long you're feeling like a truck is coming at you, day after day after day, that's going to take a toll on the body. And the amygdala, obviously, here has greater activation.
Yes.
We're able to image children that had experienced trauma and compare those brain images with children that didn't have an experience of trauma, didn't have symptoms.
Right. Exaggerated fear response.
Unexaggerated fear response. With decreased activation in areas that we need to control the
What happened with the sound?
Yeah, I thought it was just me.
Comfortable with, right? Literally what they're feeling, that activation is like there was a truck coming at them.
So I love that video. If you guys were able to hear all of it. Were you able to hear it?
It froze close to the end.
Yeah, but I got the point.
Yeah, so basically it gives you the science behind what's happening to a child when you humiliate them in the front of the classroom, right? So the chemical cortisol is an important chemical. We need it, right? And we always want to have a sense of urgency. The problem is when you're constantly feeling like you're in an unsafe space, your cortisol levels shoot up, and it makes it really difficult for you to learn. And that's what they were showing you in the brain and how that affects your brain development even. Too much cortisol for children affects their brain and ability to think and learn. So we're humiliating children. We're putting them in a space where their body is completely in a fight or flight response. That's why she said it's like a bus coming at them. It's just like when you sit there and humiliate them in class, it's like a bus is coming at them and their cortisol levels and their stress hormones are shooting up. So you're putting them in a space where it's more difficult for them to hear you and for you to learn. When you're in defense mode, when you're in survival mode in your brain, you literally do not have access to the other parts of your brain that helps you to be analytical. We all have it, all of us. It's something our brains do to keep us safe. What I often talk about is the brain. I'm sure I did a training on here before. I talk about the brain. I use my hand as the example, right? Mm-hmm. So the survival part of your brain, which is, fight, flight, freeze, eat, poop, all those things, that is in the survival part of your brain. It's called the reptilian brain, right? Or the brainstem. And I usually represent that right here. It's the bottom part of your brain. It's the most primitive part of your brain, right? Now, the next part of your brain is the limbic system. That comes online about the age of 2, right? So you're born already with the reptilian brain rocking and rolling. Limbic system begins to develop more in when you're about 2 years old. And that's where a lot of your emotions and your connection and all that stuff is, right? So for example, kids are very emotional at that stage. What happens if you tell a 2-year-old no in the store?
Oh, they're going to fall out.
They're falling all out. Why? Because that no affected them that deeply, right? We don't think about it because we don't remember being 2, where we were operating primarily out of our limbic system, right? Now, between the ages of 2 and 10, that's where kids are pretty much operating out of. Around 10, 11, the neocortex begins to come online, right? Now, the neocortex is where the analytical thinking, impulse control, right? That's when all that is pretty much rocking and rolling, or begins to start rocking and rolling, right? That's why if you tell a 5-year-old, no, don't touch that, and you keep it shiny and glistening, they're going to keep touching it. So the impulse control isn't there, right? But when they get to be about 10, 11, now they have a lot more impulse control. Not as much as if they're 20, but they have a lot more, right? Yeah. And that's also where your analytical thinking is, problem solving, critical thinking. That is all in your neocortex, right? Now, the prefrontal cortex, that comes online about the age of 15 years old. Now, that's where your long-term thinking and long-term planning come online. That's why around 15 years old, you start planning for your future, right? Am I going to go to college? Am I going to go to the military? What am I going to do, right? Now, this is the order your brain starts developing in, right? Now, this is what happens when you get afraid. Neocortex goes offline. Your ability to think analytically, offline. Your ability to have impulse control, offline. Limbic system, your ability to connect and empathize, goes offline. Now you're operating in survival mode, fight, flight, or freeze. And for girls, appease. That's a 4th survival response we have, right? Now, when we get angry, how many of us, or let's say we got into a heated fight with somebody, right? Mm-hmm. And somebody we love and care about, not somebody we hate. And no matter how rational you're being, no matter how many facts you give them, maybe they misunderstood you and you're trying to show them that, hey, wait a minute, that's not what I said. Here's what's going on. Here are the facts. Here's a video of it, everything. No matter how many facts you put in front of them, did they calm down? Hell no. They ain't even heard a damn thing you said.
That sounds like my mama.
That's what happens if she goes into defense mode, period, right? Because that part of your brain is trying to keep you safe. You're in danger. You don't have time to be analyzing and thinking shit. Ain't that time. That goes offline, right? Your ability to empathize and connect goes offline. That's why I always joke with parents. Let's say your 3-year-old draws on the wall, and in that moment you forget you love your child. That's because you've been triggered and everything's offline. You go into fight, flight, freeze mode because your brain has said my needs are under threat. So your need for cleanliness or beauty, hell, stability, because you ain't gonna get your deposit back on your apartment because the space that drew on the wall. All those needs, your brain said you're under threat. You go into survival mode, attack, whatever it is you do to, in that situation as a parent, right? It's the same thing with kids. They go into survival mode too. Just like we call it, the kids always call it, you flipped your lid, that's what they call it, right? Mm-hmm. So you have a lid, they have a lid. They get into survival mode. So you sat up in the classroom, humiliated them. Their ability to think and analyze and learn the rest of that day, done. Now they pissed at you. You can be nice as hell. One thing I hate it when adults do. I still hate it when adults do it. Where they piss you off and then act all nice to you later. They never apologize to kids. They don't acknowledge what just happened. You don't repair the rupture that just occurred in our disconnection. They just keep it moving. I hate that. And that's what teachers do, right? They don't even talk. You made the kids offline. Kids, they're like, oh, now they're nice to them. You know, I want you to do a good job. Fuck you, bitch. Because that's offline. You know that's what kids say because I heard them say it. And then they go into their own defense and fight and flight mode. And their ability to even listen to you is gone. That's why when you get mad, I always joke about this, and I'm sure we've all done it. You ever gotten so mad you did something that you wish you had done differently after you got out of that rage?
Yes.
Calm down. Like, what the fuck did I just do? What did I say? How the fuck did that happen? Because you weren't in your right mind. That ability to think, gone. It was gone. Were you thinking long term about the fact that this person might not ever speak to you again in that moment? Hell no, you weren't thinking it. You was mad and you were hurt. Because when you're mad, all it is hurt or fear. That's all it is when you're mad. So you were hurt and you were afraid of something. And you went on the attack because your needs were under threat. So that student's need for safety, under threat, go into defense mode. That student's need for affection, attention, connection, whatever it was, affirmation, all those needs, appreciation, acknowledgement weren't met. Now their brain feels like they're under threat. And they don't hear the damn thing you just said.
Wow. We need you to make a video. We need you to come to Florida. We need something. We need that down here in Florida because
I mean,
to describe that, wow.
So that's what I'm trying to do. So for those of you guys and some of the listeners know, what I'm working on specifically is curriculum for Black children and Black families, particularly Black families right now, but I'm working on Black educational curriculum as well. It's coming together. It's coming together. I'm getting my license soon for teach a particular curriculum. So that's already taken care of. So we're getting there. But I really want to do this show because I really felt when you had said I need tips and strategies, I was hoping that, out of this conversation, you get some stuff because this is really important to me. My experience as a child has pretty much made this my life's purpose. This is all I want to do is help my people. Because I feel like we watch our children suffer so much. And even at our own hands, because we don't realize we're passing down our own trauma.
Right.
Educators doing the same thing. And Ken, you can speak to that.
Yeah, it's generational trauma. We pass it down. I mean, we don't have nothing else. We'll pass down, we all, which is weird that we've all heard these same cliche statements that some parent says. And now we make parody videos and people post them on Twitter, and it's somebody dressed up like they somebody mama. Didn't I tell you not to turn the thermostat on? You know what I mean? All these different things how the hell do we have this connection? You know what I mean? So apparently that we're connected. Yeah. We're connected through trauma. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. Whether you're in Washington, D.C., I'm in Portland, you in South Central, you in Florida, we're connected through this trauma of poverty, this trauma of miseducation, this trauma of abuse, this trauma of all these different things. Everybody got an uncle doing 30 years in prison. Everybody got a cousin that, had all the potential in the world to be a football player. Now he gangbanging. Everybody got that person. You know what I'm saying? So
the person that was supposed to be, the one, and they end up addicted to crack. That's
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And the thing that's so sad is all those things are imposed upon us. The prison system, drug addiction, which we know is rooted in trauma and poverty.
These things are all preventable.
Yeah,
these are all preventable things.
But the reality is there's so much. This is why we do the work that we do. This is why we are on here talking about this, because we're very passionate about this. And we're hoping that this can enlighten some of the minds of others to do this work as well. Whether it's building a school, educating in a school, whatever it is you want to do. But it's really important that we always remember that we're here to support our community, period. We are here to support each other. We cannot continue to do the work that we're doing and nobody listens.
Right.
Because you're right. It's systematic, but it's preventable. And if we do our part, we can definitely change the course of education for our children. If we get more of our teachers properly trained in the schools, and hopefully out of the public school system with these white folk in the first place, because like I've heard so many Black scholars and Malcolm X, Dr. Amos Wilson, Dr. Henry Clark talking about why we keep putting our kids in these schools with these white folks educating them.
Right.
And even if they're white, even if they're Black staff, they're in a white system. They're in a white institution. Because guess what? Them folks gonna be in your classroom observing you to make sure you teach their curriculum. Which, by the way, most of that shit isn't even set by teachers.
No,
it's literally government appointees who come up with that shit, and they're not teachers. So
and even if it's with the parents, I gotta see your face. Look, I get it. Yeah, this is the good thing about COVID. We don't need you to come to the school to be at the PTA meetings.
Right.
You can get on the computer. Okay. Now, if you got to work swing shift and you at work at 3:00, I get it. You can't be there when school's out. But the rest of y'all can be there. You can be there. But I need to see your face, because when you start telling me, I don't want my kid learning this, I don't want my kid learning that. Okay, I understand that, because I wouldn't want my kid learning that either. But I need you to show up, because the school don't function unless you say so. Now, if you turn a blind eye and you say, well, the school is open and is functioning at the rate that it's been going, and you're cool with that, this machine, because that's what it is. If you're cool with this machine, okay, well, I hope you understand what you're getting out of that. Because I've seen a lot of parents since the pandemic has been going on, they working from home, the kids is working from us, going to school from home. They're beating the school doors down. No, they got to be back in the building. Be careful what you ask for. If you didn't get anything, I'm not going to be one of the people that say, well, if you didn't learn nothing out of the pandemic, you didn't gain a hustle, then you didn't blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, we're not LLC folks.
Yeah.
No. What I'm saying is, since your kids have been back in school, you have had full opportunity to see how school functions and what your kids are being taught, how the system works, what's important to the schools. Look, the people don't want the kids back in the school. The government don't want the kids back in school because they want the kids to be taught. They want them back in school because it's about money.
Always about money.
Okay, they don't give a damn if your kids get taught. That's not what's important. Because honestly, the system, the way things are going right now with long distance learning, this should be part of the educational experience to a certain degree.
I mean, honestly, they should have been meeting with parents like this for the longest.
This should have been going on for last 20 years. I mean, since we've had internet like this, 20 years they should have been doing this. And honestly, there's no reason for a kid to be in a building for 8 hours a day.
Listen, that's a whole other thing. Now we got to also remember these institutions were not built for our advancement and our progress. I talked about this before. Schools are literally built for the advancement of the nation. We're not a part of that nation that they want to build. They want us to be their labor to build their nation.
Right.
That's what we're learning, and that's what we have. And that's why I love what you're saying too. It's important our parents not only don't just go to the school. Let's see if we can get information. Find out what's happening in your child's classroom. How do they treat your child and the other students? Because they might treat your kid great while you're there,
but they treat DeAndre like garbage.
Right.
And even if they do treat your kid great, I would be upset if I see you teaching my kid treating my kid wonderful, but I look over there because this kid, falls asleep in class and you berating them. That would piss me off too as a parent. Pay attention to those things, because what happens when your child isn't the golden child anymore?
Right.
Exactly.
How will they get treated? What kind of environment what are they learning by watching other people get berated? Are they learning that they're better than other people? So it's more than just showing up. Look at what's happening. What's going on with your child? How is your child responding? You know what's funny? A lot of things that I've heard since this pandemic, how many parents actually liked having their kids at home?
Yeah.
First time they realized the school was not teaching their child.
Yeah, I thought it was dope. My daughter's here all the time. I'm like, man, this is actually pretty cool. I mean, I got a cool kid. So, I mean, but, I sit back and I'm like,
raised her that way, though.
I mean, I work for a school. She goes to school. I know everything that's going on in her school. But my daughter is a different case because she's been living on and off of college campuses since she was like 4. So she understands a lot of things that a lot of kids don't. So when we have conversations, and she'll say, I'll see that she's in class or whatever, and then I'll be working or something, and then my conversation with her is going to be different than the average parent, because they don't understand what's going on. But if you pay attention long enough, you will understand what's going on. You'll understand if you have a good teacher. You understand if you have a shitty teacher, your kid has a shitty teacher. You'll understand if the principal's not any good, because where the principal goes is how the school goes. So you're going to see how these systems are built up. I work at a school. We've had 4 principals in the last 8 years. That's horrible. That is pretty bad.
Yeah.
And this is a predominantly white school. Now, if this was Crenshaw, or if this was, I don't know, I guess back in the day, Manual Arts. Oh, they would have been Centennial. This would have been all over the front page. Oh, Centennial High School just can't keep a principal.
That's true.
You know what I'm saying? That's what they did here in Portland when Jefferson High School was majority black. They were going through principals. It got to the point where the district was interviewing principals from Texas, trying to bring principals from out the state, because there must be something wrong with these kids. But they're not saying that about the white kids.
There's always something wrong with the kids, black kids.
It's always the kids. It's not the system. It's not the admin. It's not the district itself. It's always the kids. So that's the kind of stuff that I hope, if anybody in the comments, or Alexa, well, you're a teacher, so I don't have to tell you. Or Vita, you work in schools, I don't have to tell you. But anybody in the comments, or anybody that's watching that have kids and they've been doing homeschooling right now, the long distance learning and stuff like that, before you send your kids back into the school building, think about that. Think about the advantages that you had as a parent with your kid at home learning from home, and think about what the disadvantages are going to be when they go back into the building. Right. And think about was it any different, your kid being at school in the building, was it any different the way they reacted to their teachers in the classroom when they were at home? Yeah. All of that matters.
I'm so glad you said that. That is so facts. 100%. Thank you, Harlow, for the donation. And I'm so glad that this has been a productive conversation for you. I'm always, worried about shows like these, because I know it can be a lot of intense information. But I'm always glad if it's helpful. Always glad if it's helpful. We're gonna wrap. Appreciate you so much, Alexis, for joining us. And it was very last minute, and you was down, and you are gorgeous. Oh my God. I know. Listen, I don't know why when I saw you, I mean, I knew you were pretty from your picture, but then when I saw your glow, I was like, oh my God, this girl is.
Where'd you meet Alexis at, on Twitter or Instagram?
Twitter. Yeah. We've been following each other on Twitter, but she commented on something today about that video. And we've been talking.
Yeah.
About so that I hit it. She said she wants some tips and tricks. I was like, girl, you can join the stream. We're gonna be on the screen. Come on.
Oh yeah, man, come back. Shoot. Come back when we all on here. Yeah.
Absolutely. So. And I would love to have you back, Alexis. And we can talk more about, some of your experiences in learning and being a teacher and just working with youth in general. Or if there's any other topics that you want to talk about, because I think we agree on a lot of shit, because I see the shit that you be liking that I'll be tweeting. I pay attention.
I see you too, girl.
So I definitely want to have you back. We talk about whatever, but I really love your perspective on education, and thank you so much for joining us. Thank you to all people who supported and donated. Please do not forget to subscribe, like, share, subscribe on Twitch and YouTube and all that.
We got a new there's a new pod coming out. When did we do that pod? Over the weekend?
Oh, the Russell Wilson one?
Yeah, I think that new pod comes out, or if it's already out.
No, we just released the other one.
Let me shut up then. Keep that in the cut.
So we just released the one with Dr. CBS talking about racial capitalism.
Damn, we just released that? Okay.
Yeah, it's actually really good. If you're like me, and you're not that, it's hard for you to understand concepts and these big words and all that, it's a great episode to listen to, because she breaks down all of it really well. And we try to connect things that will make sense for all of us. So I know I'm not a scholar, I'm not an academic. That's not my
I got a bunch of degrees, but I don't understand all that word salad.
This who got all these degrees.
I don't understand shit.
No, not only does not understand, he gets mad when you use it. So
yeah, make that shit plain. Put that in English. I want a baby to be able to understand it.
Yeah,
I say that because if you're gonna come to the hood trying to tell us what we need to be doing, right, I need you to make it plain. That's why I love Nipsey. You know what I'm saying? Nipsey is gonna make it plain. He ain't gonna give you all that,
a bunch of hoopla, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. So, definitely check out that episode. Subscribe to Patreon if you want to get the full episode.
Right.
Patreon.com/champagne sharks. If you become a member, you get access to the podcast, the full episodes, not just half, and some other cool things as well, depending on which tier you pick. But we love that you support us, and we want to continue to bring you great content and great information. Thank you again. Where can people find you if they want to find you, or do you want people not to find you?
I'm a little shy, so I would rather people not. But I do appreciate it. I love the show. My boyfriend loves the show. He told me to say that he loves the show.
Really?
So much. Yes.
Who's your boyfriend? He be in the chat.
Yeah, I think he actually, if it was Landmark, that was him.
Oh, Landmark. Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Landmark.
Oh, he been a fan for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Yeah, he actually put me
Yeah.
on to you all. So.
Oh, wow. I didn't even know that you guys were like fans of the show. I just thought you were dope.
Wow. Okay. But yeah, thank you again. I really appreciate it. Most of the questions that I had written down, you all answered. So I'm like, this was perfect. Like, I love it. Thank you all again, though. I really
appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you again, everyone. You guys have a great night.
Peace.
Bye.
Peace.